Welcome, everyone, to another adventure into reality. We're going to be joined again today by David Ellis. David, are you there?
Yes, Andrew, I'm here.
This is our third show now as part of Unified Health Systems Modular Therapy, because we're going to be beginning our launch. So let's delve into some conversations about unified health systems and what the Barbados facility is offering, like what we talked about last week, as well as what the Boulder facilities is going to do. So let's get into some depths of conversation before we take callers.
Absolutely. That's fine. So what do you want to know?
Let's talk about what modular therapy really is and how it applies to what we're doing here.
Well, basically, modular therapy is basically healing people through modules or immersive therapy. So we're going to run them through a number of therapies which have been statistically proven to work. They're not fly-by-night therapies. They're here to stay. They're long-standing therapies. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy has been around since the 19th century. We are using therapies that have been statistically proven to show results. What we are doing is we're using them in a combination with one another to maximize the outcomes, the positive outcomes that we're seeing.
And a lot of those outcomes turn out to be powerful experiences of traumas coming out of their body, mental mind states that are broken down, as well as healing of the actual ailments and body issues that are going on.
That's correct. We've been seeing a lot of results. We're actually going to start our little project of collecting data on the before and after effects of using the system with regard to people. So what we're doing right now is we're actually setting up our testing devices. We're going to be using an ECG machine and an EEG machine, a brain mapping device to take the before and the after effects of the therapy.
So we're going to be using an ECG machine and an EEG machine, something we talked about last week, something that is able to actually mark the moment in which your healing made a difference in your electroencephalograph.
Correct. So basically, for those of us who don't know, the EEG means electroencephalograph, right? Electroencephalogram. So basically, what it does is maps the brain, the neural processes of the brain. We wanted to see how these therapies affect the mind. Now, we have people coming out telling us they've been experiencing wonderful results. They feel so much better, but we want to actually take it down to hard data and hard science. So this is basically what we are doing right now.
Hard data, hard science, because we know that spirit has already proved itself. We're just here to get science and spirit to meld for these types of modular therapies for people to go through intensive, immersive experiences that can get at the root and core of some of their issues.
Correct. We're also doing a maintenance program for people who come through the system. This is one of the weaknesses we found in a lot of health outcomes and a lot of health facilities. They tend to cure the immediate problem, but there's no maintenance. So what we want to make sure that there's no falling back into old habit patterns and so on. So we've added components of nutritional therapy and psychotherapy for people who come into the system, because one of the things that we have found is that a lot of the problems that people are having, whether they be physical, they start in the mind. And we want to not only go through the processes of proving that theory, but we want to actually show that it can be reversed.
And it can be reversed. It's not just about faith. It's an understanding of how all the different cooperative components come together so that healing is a process and not an event.
Correct. Healing is a process and not an event. These were no true words that have ever been spoken. People seem to think that you take a pill and it's boom, it's gone. No, the problem started from way back, usually. And what is happening is that the journey towards coming back to a state of health or disease-free is usually a journey that you must embark on with earnest and with a little bit of knowledge as well.
Mm-hmm. All right, so David, what we're going to do is we're going to open up the calls today. So anyone that has got their hands raised and is waiting, we're going to be talking about mental, social, or physical ailments that are going on with you and the various ways that both David and I can help you through advice come to some new form of wellness for you. So Robert, let's spin the wheel of callers who want to come in and have a conversation with me and David about mental, emotional, and physical scenarios in their life.
Okay, guys, the first caller is Serena. Serena, you're now on with Andrew and David.
Serena, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
We can barely hear you. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Romania. Can you hear me better now?
No.
But we can work with it. Go ahead.
Okay.
I can find my headphones if you give me like 20 seconds. Maybe.
Yeah, because it's really a low, because hardly anyone else is going to be able to hear you.
Okay.
And you're calling from Romania.
Yes.
Well, welcome to the show. Go ahead and put your headphones on.
Yes, I found them.
Okay. So what questions did you want to have from me and David today?
Just one moment. First of all, okay, I put my headphones on. I hope this is better now.
Much
Excellent.
better. Yes, much better. There we go.
Okay, first of all, thank you for existing. You're really awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, secondly, if it's not very obvious, I didn't expect to be chosen. I just couldn't sleep, and then I felt an urge and I discovered this, so it was just some divine sign, I assume. So I'm just going to say whatever I feel right now inside of myself.
Okay.
I noticed that inside my stomach, I have a feeling of emptiness and futility. So I can get very easily excited and hopeful about my evolution. But then there is in the background this feeling of futility and emptiness of what is the point, and I would like to be able to fully release that for good. So I guess
Okay.
this is the first
Okay.
thing.
How old are you?
I'm 21.
21. Do you feel like you've led a fulfilled life?
So I feel like the first 18 years of my life started with a lot of pain. I felt chronically unsafe, and then it all escalated after my father kicked me out of his house because I lost his red screwdriver with magnets when he was drunk one day. So I left, and then he apologized, but I never came back. So then it was this crazy journey that ended up with me becoming a healer and a voice for the wounded, I would assume. And now I'm doing a combination of energy healing and somatic therapy and intuitive coaching. I'm mainly clairsentient. I have some memories in which I was hearing and I was seeing more things from childhood, but I think I'm very afraid of them because they were very intense. Like I had this memory, I was, I think, less than maybe 4 or 5, and I felt a strong taste of ashes in my mouth, and then I saw smoke around me, like almost coming out of my mouth, and I felt this warmth inside of my lungs, and I told my mother, like, Mom, I saw ashes and I saw smoke and it was all around me and I felt it in my mouth. And she said, oh, maybe your glasses got dirty. And then I have all sorts of memories like this, but I'm afraid to be an outcast. I'm afraid to fully remember. I'm afraid to be the weird one, I guess.
All right, so then let's delve into the fear. David, let's break down the nature of fear.
Fear, the old cliche. Fear is false evidence appearing real. Okay? Your fear, depending on where it's coming from and depending on the age that you're at, can be just an illusion. Okay? When you are afraid, the fear has 2 effects on you. It stops you from moving forward or doing anything at all. It makes you freeze, or it changes into something else. But whatever it changes into, it is not going to be pleasant. I can give you the background of the whole concept of fear. There was a psychologist many years ago, his name was Watson. He thought that there were only three emotions. That was love, anger, and fear. Okay? Fear by itself can change into anger, and then you get into the fight or flight reflex. What you are describing, however, is a long-standing fear. So maybe I should ask you the question right now. Do you still feel fear?
Yes, actually, 2 weeks ago, I discovered that I have a lot of this fear inside of my heart. And in the area of my first dantian, my intestines, and my liver, I have a lot of anger. So there is also a lot of love, but it's amalgamation between all three. So there is a lot of fear, a lot of anger, and also love, but they're all combined. And this fear, when I channeled it, it was this child that just wanted to be very still, almost like frozen in time, did not want to move, and was afraid of every stimuli whatsoever. I assumed that he just wanted to stay in a state that was womb-like, like watery and dark and warm and contained, and nothing happening, no external stimuli whatsoever. So that was the fear, the voice of the fear.
What are the secondary benefits of your fear right now? What has
Oh.
the anger done for you?
So the anger has helped me move forward. I mainly moved forward out of this anger and from the wound of abandonment and betrayal. Like, I recently started doing things out of genuine inspiration. It was a very new feeling, and creating art out of inspiration instead of the pain. It was very weird and awesome at the same time.
Well, anger needs an outlet. We know this, but fear can gestate inside of you. Okay? Anger always needs an outlet. I'm glad that you found a positive outlet for your anger. With regard to fear, it is something that can gestate. It can become part of your DNA and part of your cellular memories. So fear is kind of like a poison. So I want to ask you, because you said you're 21, what are you afraid of now?
I recently discovered this feeling of there is no space for me, and I recently read the book recommended by Andrew called Anastasia, and now I want to create my own space of love. So I feel this fear of there is no space for me in the world, and the world is utterly an unsafe place in which there are not enough resources. It's more like a feeling deep ingrained in my memory, in my body memory. I feel like I could describe it with so many words, but it's a fear that can cling to any type of thought form and make everything, well, less enjoyable.
I understand. May I suggest something to you?
Yes.
As long as you are in this world, there's space for you in this world. You know that rationally. But what you're describing is a subconscious irrational fear. Am I correct?
Yes, it's even more than a thought form. It's like, it's not even in my mind, it's in my body. Like, it's in my gut. It's like I'm afraid to fully commit to life. I feel like I was not properly invited and honored. And I don't know.
Well, we had this kind of discussion yesterday, last week actually, with another caller. So here's what I can tell you. A lot of spiritual people, and you seem to be on that esoteric path, feel the way you feel, okay? But the fear that you have, the same anger that makes you move forward, should also get you out of the fear, because the fear is the poison that is stopping you. With regard to you don't have a place in this world, you clearly do, because you are practicing healing with others. And that is in and of itself a good thing. You are already creating that space that you can exist in. The fear is irrational, and it's a residue from what you felt in childhood. But what I want to explain to you, and I want to explain to everyone, when you were afraid when you were a child and you had not dealt with it, it festers, it grows. People always think that emotions are something that come and they go. Some emotions stick around, and they poison you, and they poison you. with regard to what this fair is doing to you at your age right now, what it is doing is basically crippling your forward motion. Okay? Andrew could explain more of the esoteric side of this to you, but I could tell you from a psychotherapeutic side, you need to shed the fear. And if you necessary, you need to use the anger to cancel the fear. There are three basic emotions, like there are three primary colors. You use the emotions. When you become master of your emotions, you are an esoteric practitioner. You need to become master of the self and master of all parts of the self. So it's the same as what you have on a canvas. If you paint the canvas, let's give the colors to your emotions, shall we? We're going to paint the fair yellow on the canvas. We're going to paint the anger red on the canvas, and we're going to paint the love. Give me a color. Give me any color.
Gold.
We're going to paint the love gold. Okay. So what you have here is a little bit of an abstract art going on there. You need to overpower that yellow with something else. Do you understand that? I can see that you're very visual. You're a very visual person, aren't you?
I feel like I have a lot of synesthesia, so it's always an amalgamation, sometimes overwhelming. But yes, I see the colors, and I see the painting. I even see the beauty in a weird way, putting things in perspective. But I feel this is the very
Well, you know that you're the artist, right?
Yes.
You're the artist.
Yes.
So as an esoteric practitioner, I can pretty much tell you that you being the artist of your own painting means that you must take command of the brush. The painting cannot paint itself. So you need to sit down, process this concept through your mind, okay? Because you are to become a master of your own self. If you don't become a master of your own self, that painting will paint itself. And it may not be as beautiful as you think.
Yes, I'm 100% committed of this path of self-mastery, no matter how long it takes.
Well, it can take a lot shorter time if it is that you just simply take command of what is happening. Now, as a child, you were frightened and you were helpless and frightened. What happened with you and your father is a family betrayal, because we talked about this last week on the show, where a parent's love is supposed to be the highest form of love. I believe you were talking to a young man in Nashville. It was Nashville. And I was saying to him that a parent's love is supposed to be unconditional. Unfortunately, a lot of parents fall short of that. And what they do is they damage their children. So there is an innate fragility in children. You can break them easily. And I mean break them emotionally. So what I can say to you is that what happened as a child, you are going to have to deal with that and go back to that place. This is why tools like hypnosis were invented. So I'm giving you the visual tools because I sense that you're a very emotional person and you're also a very visual person. And maybe you might want to use the tools that you actually have a predisposition to reverse this trend. My suggestion to you is that you sit down, pull back everything you were afraid of from the child, where the initial sensitizing event was, process it and paint that picture. And if you may need to actually physically go get a canvas and paint that picture and see how it looks, right? There's such a thing called automatic writing, but there's also such a thing called automatic painting as well. Free yourself from what it is that you are experiencing, because the fear is the paralyzer. The anger is the motivator, but the love is the balance. So paint your own picture. Are you understanding what I'm saying at all?
Yes, I understand deeply. I am actually an artist. I do paint, but I don't sense a desire inside of myself to paint these not very happy events on.
Because it's something you don't want to look at. because it's something you really don't want to look at, that is still relating around forgiveness. You're having these family betrayals, like David was talking before. On the esoteric realm or your unseen realm, there are lots of energetic tears between you and your father. You had to go and move on your own. You had to grow up fast. You had to go into your thing, and all material support was gone, even though there was a somewhat of a forgiveness on the side. But in reality, it didn't acknowledge the trauma that you went through or the previous traumas that you existed from what your father and mother had given you. And this is anger. They're not helping me. They're not supporting me. Fear, I have to do it on my own. So the anger is motivating you to go out and do it. But the fear is also limiting your capacity to be in your body, in your place as the Holy Spirit being that is here. So balance the psychotherapy side by what David is saying, but also balance it by understanding there's a new level of forgiveness of your own self so that the traumas can go through the rest of the release factor to it. So you can have a somatic release from the energy that's been imprinted upon you.
Yes.
Right? So I heard you say before that you work with clients and they have somatic releases. So when a client is crying, going through that, you understand that's a deep, in-depth healing, right?
Yes, I also do that myself quite on a weekly basis. I mean, I have a session scheduled for Monday. I even send myself energy work. I'm really committed to this. I mean, if I need to pause my life and go in the mountains, do this for 6 months, I do it. There is nothing stopping me. I don't create excuses. I'm willing to be highly uncomfortable. I did a dry fast for 7 days. Like I'm willing to go all the way.
Well, you may not need to do a dry fast for 7 days, but you might have to sit where you are right now and face those things that you don't want to face. And there's no amount of self-flagellation that will prevent you from actually doing that thing. I know you don't want to paint. I know you don't want to get into certain aspects of your life, but you're going to have to. You're going to have to. You're going to have to actually physically make yourself do that. So if you have anger right now, use it wisely. I sound like Darth Vader in Star Trek. Okay, if you have the anger, use it wisely. No, it was Star Wars actually. Use it wisely. Okay, anger is a useful emotion. It is there for a reason. It's not a negative emotion as many people tend to say. It is an emotion that is given to you for the purposes of moving forward, the purposes of fighting to survive. Right now, you are in a fight for your mental survival or your emotional survival, because there is no way that what you're going through is not affecting your personal relationships. Am I right?
Yes, I tend to manifest relationships in which people are either too close or too far away. So no matter how it is, I'm either too alone or too close, and I can't fully enjoy it either way.
Well, that would be the balance that I was talking about in your little canvas. You have anger, you have fear, and then you have the love somewhere in between. You need more gold in that painting, less yellow.
I have a question about the painting. I have a vivid memory in which I was painting in this very inspired state. I was painting myself. I was traveling. I had a suitcase in one hand and a plant in the other hand, and there were these windy roads and trees. And then after that, I moved many times in a little time. And whenever I would settle in a home, something would happen. Like I settled in my first house in UK, and the lady decided to sell it. And I kept triggering this wound of there is no space for me, and feeling like I can't fully settle in a place and feel it as my own. And I'm afraid that if I turn my emotions, my anger and this into a creation process again, I feel like I'm afraid of my own creator power, because I'm afraid that if I turn it into a visual painting, then it would end up like this first painting in which I painted myself being on the roads, and then I had to move so much. And I think I would prefer to make a painting in which I am, I don't know, planting that plant somewhere in a land that is mine, and then building a house
Yes,
in
but
that land.
you understood.
And
Understood. You're looking for security. I
yes,
understand that.
I can do many things with the fear. Like I can do somatic therapy. I can scream in a pillow. I can go to Tai Chi, or even, I don't know, something even more dynamic. But I really don't want to turn it into visual things. I hope you understand.
No, I understand. I understand what you're saying. You're afraid of painting a reality you don't necessarily want to engage in. Am I correct?
Yes, because when I paint, it's a very powerful meditation for me. Like I focus on that. And if I paint it, I'm afraid that I will perpetuate it. So I would rather do like a somatic release, like you mentioned before, or something in which I feel it and then I let it shift in a benevolent way.
So basically, you're an artist magician. Am I correct?
I guess you can call it like this. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the problem or the benefit to that is that you're actually the artist, so that you're in control of what's happening. That's how you master the self. Okay. That's how you master the self. So I can't, um, I can't suggest anything other than what I know would actually work. If there's a fear of something, it is easy. The easiest way out of fear is to go towards it and not away from it. That's the easiest way out of fear. If you're afraid of something, the easiest way is to go towards it and not away from it. And this may sound counterintuitive. It's like, okay, so I'm afraid of men with guns. Go towards them as apart from them. There's a certain amount of common sense that has to be had here. But you are in control of your processes. You are in control of your magic, so to speak. You are in control of your life. So if you're afraid of your own power and coming into your own power, then you're really just afraid of yourself. That's the only person you're afraid of right now. You realize that?
Yes, I completely understand, because if I don't fully understand myself, if there is still an unconscious part in these things from the past, then I can't fully, I guess, trust
the present. So you have a distrust for the presence of being present. I still think that stems back to your father and the traumatic injuries that came from you having to be present around him.
Yes. Every day was just, I wish I don't exist. I just want to run away. It is very hard to.
Now you're free and you don't need to run away. You need to embrace the future and the presence you've created.
Yes.
You are afraid of your own power.
Yes.
Okay. So for you, the journey into accepting your power is reclaiming the authority to choose in these moments of now, masterful presence.
Yes.
And the art that David is saying is how you get to that master presence, because you can paint your own healing.
Okay. I will do that and now make an art gallery out of it. And if the fear ones are nasty, I'll just burn them afterwards. Is that okay?
Or you free yourself by showing the trapping and the way out of it in the painting.
Yes.
Would you like to know what the best skill of an artist is?
Yes.
Because I used to paint myself. Okay. The best skill of an artist is taking a painting which has an error and fixing it.
Okay. Yes, I can paint them in layers. I can start with the.
Oh, we understand each other. Yes, we do.
Yes. Awesome. That feels empowering.
Yes, and I suggest that you paint your paintings and make it a reality. I believe that was our gong. Go ahead.
That is our gong. Darling, we've got to let you go and move on to our next caller. All right, so if anybody's interested in having a conversation with David and I, you have to go ahead and raise your hands. So if you go down to where it says participants, click on that. A little screen will pop up, and it'll allow you to raise your hand. So Robert, go ahead and pick the next person.
Okay, the next person is going to be Marcia. Marcia, you're unmuted and on with Andrew and David.
Marcia, welcome to the show. Where are you calling from today?
Hi, can you hear me well?
Yes, we can. Where are you calling from?
I am in Fort Lauderdale.
Fort Lauderdale. Welcome to the show. What questions do you have for David and I?
Okay. My daughter, she was on detox for 10 days and she just get out a couple of days ago. Her birthday was on July 23rd, so I went to spend time with her. And yesterday we had a big fight.
Hello?
I think we lost you. Are you there, Marcia? There you are.
Yes, I'm here.
So you had a big fight?
Yes, and some Galactics in Brazil saying that she's a felina. I speak Portuguese. Sorry, my broken English. And they said that she's been there's Grey's Archons involved with that because I'm helping with the disclosure, and my ex-husband was an intelligence officer for the Royal Navy. I was raised in a Navy base in Brazil. She was raped when she was little. I got evicted 3 months ago, so I don't know if I should go to Canada. There's the White Buffalo, Chief White Buffalo, many feathers waiting for me, or I go to Brazil. But the Brazilians are saying that I should go to be with him because I'm gonna learn. I'm sorry.
Okay. There's a lot of emotions in your thing. What drugs did she get hooked on?
Yeah, heroin. Bad.
Which drugs? Which drugs did she get hooked on?
Heroin.
Heroin.
She started when she went to the AI DuPont in Delaware, and I didn't know the school system. They do bad things with kids. I'm not gonna get into that. That's how I got involved with the military, to disclose all this that's happening now. I just saw a video right now with the clouds showing the felines and the dragons, and under the Vatican,
Okay.
So
you got a lot of things going on there. So let's separate what's going on. You've got a daughter that's just out of rehab. You've had a big argument, and we know that the daughter was abused at a young age. What can David and I do to help you right now to separate some of these things so they're not all stacked on top of you, creating something of deep unclarity?
Sorry.
How can we help you?
Just talking, letting go with the experience that I have, and come back and balance out again. If there's a grace involved, and where I used to live on the building Miami, because I was evicted 3 months ago. One of the neighbors was a Marines from Zeta, and his ship was in Alaska, and he was Puerto Rican, involved the IRS. Now IRS is dismantled, and there is the Jesuit, and there's a lot of people in the building. That's why I had to leave, and I was asked the dragons to protect me. Just letting out and talk for me, it's good, but I'm okay.
No, you're not okay. You wouldn't have called if you weren't. Okay? So let us help you here by separating some of the conversational pieces that are going on. First thing first, anytime you have a child that's hooked on something like heroin and the abuse that she's gone through, you've got to go through your own self-recapitulation, because there's nothing you can do right now other than be in your body, have a form of clarity, use meditation to have more clarity so that you can begin to separate some of these concepts that are creating extreme paranoia in you. So David, let's help her separate some of these things so there's compartments of understanding.
Obrigado.
Okay, you have several things going on there. Where is your daughter right now?
She's in Fort Lauderdale with the father. He's an alcoholic. He drinks. She lives there.
Is your daughter still using heroin? Is your daughter still using heroin?
I sense after the 10 days detox, I sense, or I sense her because I slept there for 2 nights.
Mm-hmm.
And one night she left in the middle of the night. She came back in the morning. So I sense her. She was like, she just transformed, like she wanted to, she called the police trying to make her act me.
Why is this?
She abused me many times when she was high.
Abuse in what way?
Violence, throwing a laptop on my head, kicking my stomach after I had surgery.
Mm-hmm.
That I had to call the police many times.
Okay. I'm going to give you a few facts about drug addiction. With a drug like heroin, she's not going to get better unless she goes to her rehabilitation center. Okay? She's not going to get off the drug. In order to get to a rehabilitation center, she has to theoretically be willing to go to a rehab center. Are you understanding me?
Yes, I do understand. We don't have meanings for it.
Okay. She has to be willing to commit to rehabilitation. A lot of people who get into drug addiction, they sometimes don't want to be rehabilitated because they're afraid of the emotions of guilt and shame and embarrassment that they will feel when it is that their head clears. Do you understand that?
Yes.
And I think kicking your mother in the stomach after she's had surgery would be pretty much up there with things you would feel embarrassed about. So you probably, this is a difficult situation. What has your daughter said to you in the last fight that you all had? Because if she is heroin addicted, living with an alcoholic would be probably the worst thing that can happen.
The white buffalo say, "Get out of there." How many times they tell you, because it's not good for you.
Okay, so off the top of my head, because we have to deal with you first of all.
Yes.
Living in despair is not helping you, and it's not helping her. I can see that this is probably destroying you emotionally speaking, and you might want to actually think about getting some help for yourself as well. I suppose this is why you're calling into the show. But I'm telling you, just as a general statement of fact, that this is having more of an effect on you than you realize. Your emotions are probably stressing you and draining you day by day. And I understand that she's your daughter, but we had a discussion last week about family. The greatest poison comes from people who are closest to you. You understand that?
Yeah.
The greatest poison comes from people who are closest to you. I want to say this again for the callers who weren't here. This is going to be very controversial. People are going to disagree with me. Sometimes you have to learn to let go even of your family. Sometimes you have to detach.
In such a way so they can no longer harm you or cash checks your body can't cash. Oftentimes, family members who are in a drug addicted scenario are cashing these mental emotional checks that are never valid, yet we give away all of our sovereignty and power to them.
I want to claim my sovereign back.
Well, you're going to have to let go, and I mean let go in mind. If your daughter, how old is your daughter?
25. She just complete 25 on July 23rd.
I'm going to say something to you which is going to be very hard for you. You're going to have to detach from your daughter mentally. You can love her, but you're going to have to love her from a distance because you have a life as well. You are not your daughter's life. If you get caught into the drain that she's going down, you will go down with her. Do you understand? If the both of you go down, nobody is there to pull you and your daughter out. You need to stay above that drain. And when she's ready to come out of that drain, you offer her that hand. But you are going to have to detach from her. And I suspect why you're calling in here is because you already know that you have to do that. You have
Yeah,
to do it.
yeah.
Okay? I wish there was some external force that could come and say, okay, um, what is your daughter's name?
Daniela Smith.
Right. Daniela, come out of this hole. But no external force is going to do that. And I suspect from what you are describing, her father may not do that either. She's going to have to hit, some people need to hit rock bottom before they can rise. Do you understand that?
She's, all her friends died already.
If all her friends have died, then there are two options for her: change or follow that path. Now, I know this is upsetting. Please, just bear with me here. You are going to have to show your daughter love from a distance. You are going to have to control your emotions. You are going to have to wait until she's ready to come out of where she is. She's 25 years old. There is still time. But she has a problem with drug addiction. Heroin is not a pleasant drug to be addicted to. That is for certain, because it has some very brutal um, withdrawal symptoms, which people tend to want to avoid. Okay? And they also want to avoid the embarrassment of what they have done while under this drug. You are going to have to love her passively. You're going to have to tell her, I love you. You have to choose your own path. When you are ready to come out of it, I am here for you. But can you do that? Because you are a mother and you're going to have to do that to gain peace of mind. Because if you go down the drain, you are not helping her.
That's why I want to go. The white buffalo's waiting for me.
Andrew, you want to chime in here? Sorry.
Yes. Before you jump into your spirituality, you have to clean your physical body, your physical mind, and your space. And this is one of the reasons I brought David on, having another reflection. If you were to jump into spirit, you will be seeing nothing but ghosts from your daughter because you haven't cleaned yourself or detached enough. Your core energies are tied to hers, and there's an exchange. Whenever she goes into the dark places, the dark energies show up in you.
Really?
Yeah. The nature of drugs and family members. So
Eu
the
quero
journey,
cortar, I want to cut it.
the journey here is a natural human detachment journey, so that the love is passive, like David said, so you get a human clarity. Then when you're ready to go into spirituality with a cleanliness about you, because you're not entangled in your daughter's garbage. Think, you ever seen the Charlie Brown cartoon with Pigpen, the guy that walks around with all the little flies flying around him? That's what your daughter is like.
Yes.
She has all of these ghosts around her. Ghosts are common in heroin, methamphetamine, and drug abuse because they've reached the highest forms of despair, and that's what those things feed off of. You got to get out of despair before you jump into your spirituality, or you will find things that pretend to be spiritual and actually are not. Things that lead you down avenues of exploration that will do nothing but self-destruction for you.
Okay.
You cannot just jump into spirit without doing your due diligence to yourself to have a new form of clarity, a new form of detachment, so that the dis-ease you're feeling is no longer a disease in your soul. Because you're tapping. Go ahead, David.
I want to say something here. you need to also make sure that your motive for jumping into spirituality is based on your need to develop yourself and not to run away from the problems that you're facing. You need to sit down and process this for yourself.
Yeah, I
Okay?
agree with you, David. And
Yeah.
also, I am from Brazil, and there is we have intentions to travel and meet all the tribes there, you know,
Mhm.
to do an integration.
Okay. What Andrew is saying is very it's very true, and you need to also think about it in the way of, do you really want to spend the next 10 years cleaning yourself so that you can accelerate, or would you really like to just do it right now?
Right now.
So I'm sorry, you're going to have to detach yourself from what is happening with your daughter. And whenever I say this, I know there's going to be judgment in the audience, because people have a very static view of how relationships in terms of family are supposed to go. And it comes from religion, and it comes from false belief systems. Okay? Everybody in this audience came into this world alone. You're going to die alone. That is a horrible statement of fact. Your spirituality, your development, your awareness is your responsibility. When it is one of the greatest traps for spiritual people, if I had to set a trap, it would have to be if you're all with the people that are closest to you, your family.
Yes.
A lot of people seem to derive honor out of throwing themselves on the pyres of their family's issues. Okay? There is no honor in that. There is no honor in that. You sacrifice yourself and you break yourself so that your family can prosper. I understand the honor or the seeming honor, but when it comes to situations where your families or your family are on a path of destruction, especially if the destruction involves destroying you as well, and you allow it to happen, there is no honor in that. There is none. And I need to tell you this because you need also to understand that when you detach from yourself, you also have to deal with the judgment, detach from your daughter. You also have to deal with the judgment, the self-judgment that you will place on yourself. Understand that when you are taking a plane to any destination in the world, the announcement that is made on the airplane is, please put your air mask on yourself first before putting it on your child. Because if you put it on your child first and you pass out, there is no one there to help your child. That is the reasoning and the rationale behind it. Everybody in this chat has heard this before. Fix yourself first, clean yourself first, and then you can be useful. But you must rise in spirituality and understanding so that when your child is ready to come out of the darkness that she's in, you are there to assist. You are not doing a selfish thing by detaching. You are detaching your involvement. You are not detaching your love. There's a difference. Do you understand that difference?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Darlin, we have to move on to our next caller. Thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you.
Actually, Robert, how about we take our break now, and then when we come back, we'll continue our callers, because we don't want to just do a 10-minute caller.
Copy that. We'll be back in about 10 minutes.
All right, everyone, we'll be back.
Okay.
So what kind of questions do you have for the Living the Mystical Life Daily webcast today?
Well, I've got a few different ones of the different genres. Why don't I just ask my first one?
Okay.
I was curious if the eclipse and the accompanying unity meditations had a positive effect on timelines or the event horizon, if there is still one.
So I have been stating since 2013 that unity meditations are generally very dangerous scenarios to be involved in. So my answer is no. It has made virtually no impact. And I have maintained that statement since 2013. Now, I will explain why. All it takes is one person that has a radically different belief system who has a slightly haunted area to poison that whole thing. None of the
meditation have ever met or hugged each other in mass, have never exchanged ceremonial honors or blessings. There isn't a form of ritual clearing before or after it. It is just a dirty flash mob of energy coming together with no focus or no purpose. And there is this concept that the light worker community believes that our unity cells are all working together and that's that. No, that's bullshit. That's theory. That's not proven. There are people that have deep and powerful experiences during those unity meditations because that's what they needed. And then there are a bunch of others that stop the middle of their day with their screaming kids in the corner, go and do their meditation and never clean themselves. You don't have any form of spiritual hygiene. The monks in the monasteries live spiritual hygiene and share these unity meditations because they know that everyone working with it has done spiritual hygiene. Our world has taken on so many of these things. So my answer, you add the internet to this, which is full of dirty spiritual energy. You have a mass assemblage of light beings with a bunch of predatory spirits around it, and it's a smorgasbord of energy harvesting for them. That's my answer to that question, and has been my answer since 2013. Appreciate that. Is that a hard answer for you?
Certainly. Certainly, because, we all want to believe we're making a difference, and that's been the most obvious way for people who don't have really sacred communities around them practicing, whether you're preaching, to participate or feel that they're participating. And I hear what you're saying, that it can be an easy way to bring in dirty energy underwater.
Exactly. Now, if it was organized and had some of the concepts that I said behind it, where there is a good portion of people that are creating the unity meditation, who are consciously broadcasting publicly through video, you can alter some of those light waves, those negative light waves that are coming in projections. Are you going to stop the predatory spirits? No. It literally takes just one haunted 25-year-old kid that's half suicidal, that has a suicide demon in him, for it to go, holy shit, I want him to meditate with this, because I have doorways and pathways to everyone doing the same thing.
And so the light energies that people bring to these events aren't enough to outweigh these others.
Because there's no physical hug between them. No, I'm going to sage you, you sage me. No unity of touch that is the intimacy of sacredness. Okay? Too many people think they can remote view and remote pray.
now hearing a lot of stuff about. So I'm left wondering, is it best, in order to maybe have a positive influence, is it best or smartest to be present at an event like this, to do prior ritual maybe at the event site, or to do ritual from afar? And this is with the caveat that there could be violence at the event.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Sorry, we were having some kind of audio issues with our recording that was going there. So we are back from the break a minute or two early. So we'll get that break thing figured out in just a second here. All right, so David, welcome back. How you doing?
I'm doing great, actually.
We've had a couple challenging callers over the last couple weeks. So what other advice do you have for anybody else that's facing a situation with a child with a beginning of a drug addiction or a long-running one?
Okay, I'm glad that you separated the two. At the beginning of an addiction, there's a lot that you can do. You can choose to counsel that child. You can choose to reverse the trend or whatever is in the environment that's causing that child to react in any way or run to drugs as an escape or as a reaction to something. In long-term cases where a biological dependency has been reached, then you have a problem where you might have to actually seek professional help if your child is willing. Because depending on the age of the child, you may not be able to get them into therapy. When they're younger, you will have to get them into therapy as soon as is possible. But if they're over 25, as the last caller had said, you're going to have to wait until they are ready to come out of that hole. And this is the hardest thing, seeing your children suffer by their own hands. You have to keep into consideration, you have to keep in mind that they are over 18 and they are, most countries, reach the age of majority. And the age of majority means that they're responsible for their own lives. So the continuous interference from you may not actually help them. It may push them away. You have to wait until they're willing to come out of that. And that is the hardest thing for a parent to hear. At the beginning of drug addiction, there's a lot you can do. Please understand that a biological dependency on a drug, such as methamphetamines, for instance, all right, or crystal meth, really means that your child's body cannot continue to function normally without that drug. A lot of talk has been had about crystal meth, but I need to explain to your viewers what that is and what it does. It is a drug that the first time you take it, you're addicted, and I mean biologically dependent. It literally destroys the joy center in your mind. It overloads it, so that anything else apart from that drug falls short of the mark of happiness. The cure for crystal meth addiction is to give the individual synthetic crystal meth. Just roll that around in your mind so that you understand the level of biological dependency. I would suggest to everybody who is listening to this that you first of all process where and how far your child is with regard to the drug addiction. Is it at the beginning stages? What drug they are using? All right. A lot of people think that marijuana is a very potent drug. It really isn't. There's a lot of really strong drugs out there. Um, what drug they're using will be dependent on your response. If it's crystal meth and it's in the beginning stages, please immediately get them to a hospital and immediately get them into therapy. If it's a long-term crystal meth addiction, then there's very little that you can do if they're over 18 or 20. There's very little that you can do. And this is something that you have to accept. And that is a hard thing to accept. If you are going to continue to try to affect and interfere with their lives, then you're probably going to be in for a very rough time. Okay? That drug becomes their world.
Literally their world, biologically and imperative. It's a biological imperative that they have to have that drug in them, which creates a scenario where withdrawals can be extreme forms of sickness. It's like having the flu for weeks in a row, vomiting, diarrhea, inability to eat food, and then all those other worry and anxiety programs go on. The biggest thing is the heart is under extreme anxiety and stress, which puts people into a situation where their adrenal glands are running and running and running, and that's what drives them out of their place to go and discover the drugs to fill that void again. Taking yourself out of the drug addicted person scenario so you can see what's driving them internally. Many parents have come to me and going, it's 3, 4, 5 times. They've gone to rehab. Rehab's $40,000, $30,000 a month. I can't afford it. What do I do? Too many people turn to spirituality as the answer, and that fails too. It still comes down to getting to the root causes through therapy, different forms of therapy. Now, another thing to understand with heroin, methamphetamine, prescription drugs, they are by design meant to fuck you up, hardcore. And when you start taking them at a recreational journey in larger volumes, you begin to rapidly transmute and transform who you are into the medium of the drug is defining who you are. And that is why so many people won't go into the withdrawal. They'll have the first hour of it and they'll go right back to the drug or find something else to take its place. So David, let's quickly talk about getting out of withdrawals, what it can do, and then we're going to go back to our next caller.
Okay. I want to say something. A lot of people who have been addicted to drugs have tried to quit the drug many, many times before, and they fall short because the withdrawal symptoms are not to be underestimated. Okay? So some scientists got together, they created some drugs. Drug dealers got together, they improved on them. Methamphetamine is extremely addictive. And when you come off of methamphetamines, you literally are having a nervous system shut down piece by piece. You feel like crap. And that is not to be underestimated. There's no power of will there. You are being tortured from the inside. I want you all to understand this and just roll this through your minds. If you are on methamphetamines or heroin and you try to come off of it cold turkey, you will be tortured, seriously tortured. Some people figure it takes 3 days for that to leave your system. You will have withdrawal for about 3 days. And in this case of methamphetamines, there's a high possibility you might die if you are not monitored. Because you will not eat, you will not drink, you will want that drug. You will sweat, you will dehydrate. And some people have died trying to come off of the drug. The biological dependence is real. Okay? When the cure for a drug is to make a synthetic version with no side effects, then you know that drug is a very horrible drug. But what am I saying? because they're prescription drugs that do exactly the same thing. Right, Andrew?
That's right. That's right. Too many people get caught up in thinking they can quit and they're stuck over and over again.
And one of the main class of drugs is the antidepressants that have been put on the market. We're talking about Prozac, we're talking about Xanax, we're talking about Cipralex, we're talking about these kinds of drugs. Paxil, back in the day. These things are extremely addictive. I know people who have been on them for years.
Yep. And you should never be on any of those longer than 18 months. And every therapist knows it, but they don't do anything because the drug companies say just leave them on. And then after a year, 5 years, 10 years being on Paxil, Zoloft, all of that, you have all the side effects and none of the actual benefits.
So if you are on these drugs for a long period of time, please understand that depression, just think to yourself, I wonder what our ancestors did. Okay? They probably used a natural remedy. Okay? But I can tell you that this is the new kind of drug dealing. This is the new kind of drug dealing. If you're sad, I can make you happy. And I can make you happy on prescription. And you feel better about it because somebody in a white coat is giving you a prescription, as opposed to some guy with gold chains in a corner somewhere, right? But it's the same thing. Antidepressants are overprescribed. People are dependent on them to make them feel happy. I once knew a young lady whose mother had died. She was basically grieving. She went to a doctor. He gave her a pill. It eased the pain. 20 years later, she's still on that drug. That is nonsense.
It's criminal. It should be criminal.
But it was a man in a white coat that did that.
Exactly. I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of examples of people that have come to me in the exact same scenario. And I'm sure there are scores of callers that know somebody that has been on the same depression med 15, 20 years. Or maybe they changed the meds. And every time they try to get off of them, they spiral out of control and end up in a few days in an institution until they get back on their meds. And they go, okay, I'm good now, until they want to get off again. And they're forever in a vicious cycle.
So if anybody else is waiting to discuss this, please feel free to ask any questions.
All right, so Robert, let's open up for our next call. Spin the wheel of medical call-ins for David and Andrew.
Okay, our next call will be Sarkis. We haven't heard from Sarkis in a while. Sarkis, you're unmuted with Andrew and David.
Hi, Sarkis. How you doing today? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Andrew. I'm calling from Bethesda.
Welcome to the show. We've been talked many times. So what's going on with you? So you have questions for David and I?
Well, today I just want to talk about love and trust in general. I do believe that I have been working on my health emotionally and mentally as well. So today, let's talk about love and trust. You suggested to me that one of my biggest lesson in life will be love. But at the same time, I'm wondering, how can you work out love when there is no trust? And pretty much the world around us is just going bad and bad. I try my best every single time. I give my best, but there's no trust. I can't trust anymore. Then how can I let love in? How can I love somebody?
David, I want you to let you take that first one because you got a special smile there.
Okay, love and trust. It's kind of like a discussion I had about love and respect. I see the problem you're having, because one generally tends to presuppose it's like a requirement for the other. Let's try it another way. In last week's discussion, I discussed with this caller that the Greeks had a classification of different kinds of love. Okay, so at the bottom of the ladder there was called eros, which is basically the love between a man and a woman. Um, they were at the bottom of the ladder because it had the most conditions attached to it. Okay.
Okay.
In the middle of that ladder, you would have something called philios, which is the love between siblings and the love between family, basically. Okay. Siblings, friends, right? At the top of the ladder, you had something called agape, which is unconditional love. Okay. So the reason why I say this is if you go to the top of a mountain and you meet a yogi for the first time, and the yogi says, I love everyone, says, I love everyone. Do you think the yogi trusts you? I just met you. Okay. So when we talk about love, we may not be meaning it in the way that you're meaning it. Okay. When you read that in spiritual text, what they're talking about is a sort of unconditional love which transcends the need for trust. Now, I'm being a little bit obscure here, but I'll just bear with me a moment. An unconditional love which transcends the need for trust. Let me explain to you why you might be having a problem with love and trust. Because you might be in the levels of philios at eros. So, for instance, if a woman comes to you, or you meet a woman or a man, as the case may be, and y'all engage in a relationship, then you might think that there's a need for trust. If you have a family member that may be a real screw up and you want to love that family member, then there may be a need for trust. If you think about these people from a soul perspective, meaning the spirit of that individual, if you think of them as part of mankind, part of the universe, then there is no need for trust, is there? Think about that and ponder that very carefully.
Okay.
You see the difference, right?
Yeah.
Because that is a kind of universal love, okay? Which is what your spiritual texts speak of. The problem with that is that it's fairly useless when you have a situation in front of you. And I say useless not in the way that it's totally useless. I say useless in that you have an individual who's in front of you who's speaking to you from the point of view of, I am speaking to you as David or Andrew or whatever else. Universal love transcends trust, it transcends respect, it transcends whether or not you like me. Do you understand the difference? The problem is getting into that mind space and holding that mind space for long periods of time. Do you understand that?
Yeah, I think I'm getting the point.
Is holding that mind space for long periods of time. Because if you hold this mind space, I have to put a little disclaimer here, because, it sounds wonderful and people may agree with me. Universal love and loving mankind is wonderful. Here's the drawback: your wife, your children will not understand universal love. Do you understand that?
Not quite perfectly.
Okay, good, fine. I'll give you an illustration. What is your name?
Sarkis.
Sarkis?
Yes.
Sarkis, sorry, I haven't actually met you on the show before. Sarkis, imagine this scenario. You're married to a woman. You have inculcated the concept of universal love. You love people from the soul aspect. Another woman enters the picture. You don't have a love interest because you love people universally. Okay?
Okay.
You interact with everyone universally. Your wife might not understand.
Okay. I see.
You get the point,
Yeah, I definitely do.
right? You
Yes.
love everyone universally. You have children. You love children. You love them, the soul. You see the little souls running around. The neighbor's kids come over. You treat everyone equally. You love your children, you love the neighbor's children, everyone we love. Your kids might not understand.
Yeah.
Actually, that might actually piss them off quite a bit. It would certainly piss your wife off quite a bit that you're loving everyone universally. It would certainly piss your wife off. These are the disclaimers. So this is where the birth of sannyas came in. I will explain what sannyas is for people who are in India right now listening. I will have to make a little bit of an explanation. Sannyas is basically people who have taken to the path of spirituality to develop themselves, and they've left their children, their wife, and families. Okay, they've had to because they would cause them more pain by staying there. So there is a balance that has to be maintained between the path of universal love and having people around you who understand you. Do you get where I'm coming from?
Yeah, yeah,
But
definitely.
your original question was your original question had to do with love and trust.
Yes.
Um, if you are loving in the region of Philios or Eros, it's hard to escape the concept of trust. If you elevate your thinking and you love universally and you love mankind as a whole, then trust is irrelevant. Whether you like me, whether you don't like me, whether you hate me, whether you love me, it is irrelevant. I love universally. I love the spirit of the world. Okay, but as soon as you look at people as bodies and personalities, you've already fallen short of universal love. You've already fallen short. So
Okay.
I suppose my answer to your question is when in doubt, choose universal love. But when in practice, please, please be very aware that people like to be, people around you would like to feel special.
Okay.
And you might want to adjust your expression of love accordingly before you make them feel generic because their thinking will not be as elevated as yours. Okay,
That makes sense.
unless you find yourself in a relationship with a woman who is as elevated, who thinks like you.
Makes completely sense.
But I should probably give you the statistics now that I've given you the good part of it. There's the bad part. 0.00001% of the world's population approach people as souls or spirit. The rest of the world's population do not. So you're pretty much in a pool with 0.00001% of the world's population if you choose to take the path of sannyas.
I see. And therefore, the problem with trust and love, because the rest of the world is not kind of on the same path as you and doesn't really understand where you're coming from or your point of view.
Correct. So you're going to have to balance the two. You're literally going to have to become spiritually schizophrenic, which is extremely difficult to do. I would put that as a difficulty level at 10.
I love that you used the word spiritual schizophrenia because so many callers are actually stuck in it and they don't get the state of spiritual schizophrenia from those that are universal love understanding of those that just simply are conditional love assholes.
So, Sarkis,
Yes.
I hope that gave you some
Definitely.
perspective, right?
Definitely.
You
Yes.
might have to you might have to when you are arguing or getting into an argument with your significant other, just assuming, then I suggest you start thinking universal love. When things are going great, I suggest you think in terms of eros, okay?
Thoroughly
Because
on.
your significant other won't be around too long if you continue the universal love path. Okay? All right.
I totally understand. Thank you so much. Now I think if the time permits me, I will ask a second question, which is on regard
Sure.
to healing and how one can make sure that we don't relapse and back to the old stage, pretty much. So I I've been working on myself, but with the time I realized that I from time to time I will, make a great progress, and the next 12 months, for example, I will go back to the old stage, not evolving that much and not being on top of my overall work. I know life get on the way, but still, like healing wise, do you have any suggestion from your own experience? Do you have any technique, anything that you can suggest me to kind of help you keep up on track and make sure that whatever has been gained as hard work is not, you don't lose it, pretty much.
Okay, so let's take a little analogy of the matrix, shall we? So you're in the matrix, right? And then you take the red pill, and then you wake up and you realize, oh crap, I've been doing nonsense all my life. Okay?
Yeah.
But then somebody plugs you back in, and then you wake up again because the red pill is still in your system. Okay? And then you fall back into it. So, um, you would like to remain unplugged, is what you're trying to say. Am I correct?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so let's just get down to brass solutions there. Let's go down to brass tacks solutions. Solution number one, surround yourself with people that are unplugged. Matrix. Matrix lessons 101. If you're taking the red pill, you need to find other people who take the red pill. Or you walk around with a satchel full of red pills and give it around everywhere. Okay, solution number one. Because then you have a support structure that will point out to you, hi, you're be getting plugged in again. Okay, that's solution number one. So far, so good. You're following me.
Yes, I think that's actually the the answer that I definitely need. Is it makes completely sense.
But I have more solutions for you. Oh,
I
just
w-
wait. I have more solutions because
I would
I've been
love
through this,
I would love to hear them.
right? Because I have seen this kind of thing. Solution number two, people get plugged back in usually because the mind does not give attention for long periods of time to something that is intangible. Okay? So, for instance, let me give you an example. This is a pen that's on my desk. I could look at the pen and I know that it's there. As soon as I put the pen down, in about an hour from now, my mind will forget about that pen. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Good. Staying on the path of esoterics and spirituality is kind of like that. If you want to know what happens if you don't do anything, if you don't manifest anything, you want to know what happens?
Yes.
Nothing. Nothing happens. Right?
It's a pen on the desk. You forgot where it was, and you're going to go
True.
buy a new pen and start over, and then lose all those pens. And the
True.
pens are your spirituality.
True.
Okay?
True.
Nothing happens. So, spirituality is a practice. You must practice. And I say practice in the sense that you must practice every day. You must manifest things. Okay, let's see if I could get this across. Um, Years ago, there were a group of esoteric people called alchemists. Okay, you know, the old turn lead into gold bit.
Yeah.
Okay, they actually had to do stuff for them to be interested in stuff, for them to continue to do stuff. Understood?
Yes.
So make your spirituality actually work for you. Then you realize, oh, this works. Let me try something else. And keep the interest flowing. Kind of like a relationship where you're stuck in a monotony of the relationship, and then you lose interest in the relationship, and then the relationship dies a cruel and horrible death. So you actually have to do things, to be interested in things, to do more things. Okay, that's solution number two. manifest, manifest, manifest. Solution number 3, off the top of my head. Okay?
Yeah.
If you are into spirituality and you are like a fundamentalist religion person and you're only practicing one thing, then yeah, you're going to lose interest and get plugged back in. Okay?
Yeah.
If you're into spirituality, and let's say you came onto spirituality through the path of Reiki, theoretically, but you haven't done Zen Buddhism, and you haven't done Ayurveda, and you haven't done, oh, I don't know what else, uh, magic, I guess, you haven't done a number of other systems that are out there, then you will be apt to lose interest. Okay? I want to get people away from this concept that there is only one path in spirituality. There are many, many others. Okay? And if one path you have mastered it, it might be that you've mastered it, it might be that you haven't. Then read elsewhere. Find other things. Keep the interest alive. And then you'll find that that will solve problem, that will flood into solution number 1, which would be that you're connected to other people who are spiritual, which will flood into solution number 2, which will mean that you are able to manifest things because your power, your internal power, your siddhi, your chi has grown tremendously, which means you can manifest more things. Get the general idea, Sarkis?
Yes, awesome. I think it's a really clear picture. And then just probably to close up, I think I'm not the only one online. So just to close up, what do you guys think might be the next suggestion, a healing area that I should focus on to allow me next step grow? I know we talk about it with Andrew, and I'm still working on one side, but hey, yeah, if there is more, I would like to hear.
A healing area. What have you done?
What I have done, I've done diverse things, pretty much trying to let go of a lot of stuff in me and outside of me. Um, I I personally don't think that I have uh, deeper issue other than my sexuality and my sexual side. But other than that, I think I believe that I'm almost okay.
Well, one other side, since I've known Sarkis quite some time privately and publicly, so he's a programmer and does a lot of hours doing programming jobs. So in the computer world, so he's a very different view of how to process the world. And part of your particular journeys into healing is disconnecting from your job, but staying passionate about it and still being passionate about your life separate from it. It's a big issue right now for you and has been ongoing.
Hmm. Can you get in depth a little bit, disconnect from the work and still passionate about it?
Well, I want to have David answer this because gave you many answers, and David is a programmer also, so he knows the type of brain and mindset it takes to create big projects and code.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm guessing that if you have been, well, I'm a lot of things other than as well as a data scientist, but I'm guessing off the top of my head that if you're thinking in those ways, you overanalyze a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So, honestly speaking, if I were you, I would start with silencing the analysis, because here's the problem with analysis and being intelligent. And I want to speak to everyone in the audience. If you are, because I understand that this particular audience is extremely intelligent. If you are intelligent, please understand that intelligence has a double-edged sword to it. It can become your god really quickly, and intelligence is not the be-all and end-all. Please understand that when you try to logically process your way out of a situation, um, there will be things that you miss. There will. I could tell you these things because have felt them on my own skin as well. So, Sarkis, if you want talking about healing, I would probably suggest that you start with contact meditation because it will silence that intelligent, rational side of yourself to get you to see a bigger picture. Okay? It might be something simple as mantra meditation. Go to a TM center, sit down there for a while, have them have yourself experience what your mind is like when there's nothing but one thing in it.
Thank you so much. I think that's definitely you know very helpful. All the informations. It just seems like it has been all the time in front of me, but I really didn't really process them as deep as today, and I will take advantage of all of them.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Sarkis.
Thanks a lot, Sarkis, for calling in. All right, we're going to move on to our last caller of the day. Robert, spin the wheel of callers.
Okay, last caller is going to be Dana Bird. Dana, you're on with Andrew and
Dana,
David.
are you there?
I am.
Hi, where are you calling from today?
I'm calling from Los Angeles.
Welcome to the show. What did you want to talk about with me and David?
I've had a new injury on my left knee, and I can barely even walk. And then I also wanted to kind of talk about my son, who's has some like behavioral issues and things, so I don't feel supported. So
okay.
Yeah.
So what did you do to the knee?
I don't know. I gained some weight in the last 6 months, but it's just been exercise, I guess. All of a sudden, it's so swollen, and it's been bothering me for about a month. And then I went to the doctor, and they said that I have arthritis.
And did anyone in your family have arthritis?
Yeah, the knee problems or issues with my dad and my brother, but maybe it's just genetic, but it just suddenly happened, and it's kind of debilitating.
Okay. How old are you right now?
I just turned 50.
A little early for it to set on.
Mm.
So there are some nutritional things that David could talk about that deals with arthritis, as well as learning to control your cyclical swelling.
Okay.
Let me have you step in here.
Okay, so anything with the word itis at the end means that something is swelling, whether it be a tendonitis, bursitis, or arthritis, which is swelling of the bone, really. Okay? You need to isolate what kind of arthritis you have because there are two kinds. Actually, there are more than two kinds, but there are two major kinds. Is it rheumatoid arthritis that runs through your family or osteoarthritis?
Oh, I don't know. Okay.
I could tell you what the difference is.
Okay.
Rheumatoid arthritis, maybe I should just ask you a question. When it gets colder or when it gets hotter, does your pain level change?
I think so. It's just always hot here in Los Angeles, so.
It is?
Well, yeah.
Does it get worse at night when waking up in the morning?
I think so. Well, it's new. It's only been about a month, but I think I'll have to go get a scan.
As well as a second opinion.
Yeah.
Yes, I would highly suggest a second opinion because that seems a little bit odd. So off the top of my head, osteoarthritis is when you grow older, your bones become brittle as a result, and they become more porous, so the bones they ache. You lose cartilage, they ache. Rheumatoid arthritis, your bones really do swell, okay, especially in the joint areas, okay, and it's affected by the weather, atmospheric pressure, and so on. But what you are describing there is basically arthritis in one knee.
Yeah.
What's about the rest of your body?
I'm sorry, what?
What about the rest of your body? You have no pain anywhere else?
No, I've been really, really fatigued and haven't been practicing self-care. I had someone come back into my life, an old love, and he had a lot of demons. He's like a famous person, and he had like demons, and they were really attached to me. So the last 6 months, I've been like doing a lot of deep spiritual work, getting those away from me, and they've come to me physically and in my dreams and all of that. So I was doing like a big spiritual thing. So I didn't know if that was related, but yeah, I just feel like kind of stopped, and I felt attacked and all of that. So I felt
so in holistic holistic terminology, do you know what the knees represent?
probably not moving forward and not feeling supported.
That would be correct. Support. That's
Yeah.
what they represent.
Yeah.
But only one knee.
Yes. Well, 2 years ago, my other knee went out. I tore my ACL and my MCL.
Oh, wow. Wow. Why can't you just leave your knees alone?
I don't know. I just like, oh my goodness. So I'm feeling, that's kind of the reason for the call. I was like, okay, it's a big pattern here in my life.
So, Andrew, I get where you're coming from. You tore your ACL at the other knee, and there is no arthritis in the other knee?
Yep.
No, the other one's super strong.
Is that correct? That doesn't sound like arthritis.
It's not.
Oh, so
not.
It should be in both knees?
Absolutely. Or all.
So what was the diagnosis based on?
Just with the, I didn't do any scan. The doctor just said, oh, I've seen this before. That's what it is. But it's been very, very hot here lately. So maybe it's just swelling up.
Wow. Okay. That's a hell of a diagnosis. Okay. So diagnostic method. I just look at it and it swells, and that's what it is. Okay. No. Off the top of my head, if something is swelling, there's certain foods that you just should. I could just pretty much give you the nutritional solutions. Nutritionally speaking, if something is swelling, and if it is suspected arthritis without a test, but suspected, then you're gonna have to stay away from nightshade vegetables.
Okay.
You're gonna have to stay away from. I suspect you're going to start screaming as soon as I say this. Coffee.
Okay. Yeah.
You like coffee, don't you?
Well, I've been using it as a crutch, as a drug. I'm yeah. So I can, I'll get away from it. But can green tea?
How many cups are we talking? We're talking like 6 cups a day.
No, maybe 2 big ones.
Which is 6 cups.
Oh, are we talking jugs? Are we talking jugs of coffee? Okay, 2 jugs of coffee. Okay. Coffee will cause a problem if you have any kind of suspected arthritis. And if you don't have arthritis, you can be sure that it'll help bring it on.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so if arthritis runs in your family, you shouldn't be drinking that much coffee, for sure not.
All right.
Okay? Nightshade vegetables, do you know what these are?
What, like tomatoes? No, tell me.
Mushrooms.
Oh, yeah.
Eggplants and those kinds of vegetables.
Okay. I can read.
Okay, funguses of all kinds. These are nightshades, okay? So you might want to stay away from that. You might want to stay away from coffee and anything that promotes most people in the Western world. This is a very overlooked part of nutrition. So most people in the Western world eat the incorrect ratio of inflammatory foods and anti-inflammatory foods. Inflammatory foods are foods that promote inflammatory prostaglandins in your body. I will give you a description. Cakes, pastries, dairy products, these things promote inflammation in your body. Okay, fried foods. Anything that tastes good usually promotes inflammation in your body. Okay.
Yes.
Let me tell you what promotes anti-inflammatory prostaglandins or responses in your body. That would be oily fish, salmon, omega-3, flaxseed.
Yeah.
Get the idea?
Yeah.
So you're supposed to eat those in a 4-to-6 ratio, meaning 4 parts of anti-inflammatory to 6 parts of inflammatory responses. The inflammatory responses are necessary because they protect you. In your case, not so much. Okay? But you need to eat those in a balanced ratio in order to maintain balance versus not balance. Andrew, you okay?
Take care of my computer.
Okay. in order, you need to eat those in a balanced way. Okay. So you might want to go to the grocery store and get stuff that doesn't taste so good.
Yeah.
Or you could get omega-3 capsules. They're anti-inflammatory. Okay. In terms of the herbal solutions, turmeric. You know this already, right?
Yep, I'm taking that in my omegas, but maybe I'll double up or.
Turmeric, you should probably take that. That is probably one of the better ones. And garlic to a certain extent to promote the responses really quickly. Garlic is a natural antibiotic, by the way.
Yeah. Okay.
So these are the other responses. As for your knee, I'm not quite sure why you're feeling the pain. Where is the swelling? Is it around the patella, the bottom of the patella, or the top of the patella?
It's on the sides.
In the ligament area.
Yeah.
That's painful, isn't it?
It's very, and I can barely walk. It's crazy, but it is very hot here. So yeah.
Okay, so you're probably retaining fluid in that knee. Am I correct?
Yeah, it's very swollen.
So you're going to have to go to a specialist, and you probably may need to drain that knee.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
And you might want to take a little bit of rehabilitation. So the next time you go to the gym, it's not necessarily advised that you go to the gym, don't you?
Yeah. Well, I have, yeah.
It's not necessarily advised, but when the swelling goes down, take very light leg extensions. I know it's not a very light leg extensions, and rehabilitate that knee. Build the quadriceps above it. Quadriceps femoris, you know what that is?
Yeah.
Wow, the fact that you know what that is really does mean that you're quite a gym person, aren't you?
Yeah, try.
Okay, so you need to create the knee is the weakest part of your body, by the way. I should probably tell you. Okay? So if there's anything that would have been built badly on your body, would be the knee. I should probably give you a little bit of an anatomy of the knee very quickly. Your knee is a translational joint. So if you look at my hand right now, your knee does this, first of all, and slides into place. Okay? And when it comes out, it comes like this and turns this way. Okay?
Yeah.
That's how your knee operates. Okay? Why I tell you this is because all the swelling that is happening on the sides of the knee are where the ligaments that tie your knee together are. So your knee is in a weakened position right now, and you might want to rehabilitate it. And you can't make the knee stronger. There's no muscle there, but you can make the things that support it stronger. So you're 50 years old. Am I correct?
Correct.
So I take it you are on glucosamine and chondroitin.
No.
Oh, well, you might want to get that.
What is it?
Glucosamine.
Okay.
Jenny, if you're around, can you just simply Google that and put that into the chat for us?
Okay.
Glucosamine and chondroitin. It's or MSM.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay. You might want to get those supplementation and add it to your diet or your supplement regime for the very simple reason that you're getting a little bit older and you may be losing cartilage in that knee as well. But take all precautions. Okay?
Yeah.
I think the hardest thing for you will be that coffee, however.
Yes.
One other side thing, whenever you have significant swelling in the joints, something that they have out there are infrared knee pads.
Oh.
There are infrared pads that are built into the shape of a knee pad. And I've had incredible success with anybody that's swollen joints, whether it's arthritis or injuries. It has a tremendous capacity of really getting in there deep and moving the fluid out of there. And they're not that expensive. You can get a regular infrared pad, or you can get one specifically for the joint of the knee. They're on Amazon. They're about $60, $50. Secondly, flotation tanks are one of the key ways at stopping cyclical swelling.
Wow. Okay.
You're at 1,000 pounds of Epsom salt to 200 gallons of water.
I'm sure I can find one in LA.
Yeah, if you
Yes,
can't,
you should definitely can.
Yeah, you definitely should be able to find one in LA. And for everybody who was asking, I spilt water on my computer and I had to rapidly save it. That's why I disappeared. 6 years of doing it, first time I've ever spilled water on my computer.
Oh. Okay. So can I talk a little bit about my son?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay, so he has a oppositional defiance disorder and ADD, and I think this. And my husband travels a lot for work, so he's away for a couple months right now. I also feel that this might have to do with my knee, that I'm not being supported. But even though he's amazing and we talk several times a day and we've got a great relationship, it's just that he's not here. But do you see anything with my son or what could help him?
How old is he?
He's 9.
9.
Yeah.
When did the diagnoses begin?
Well, he's always had, little issues with like impulse control and, all sorts of little things. So always.
Did they put him on meds early?
No, we just got some and then we did it for like 2 weeks and then we said we're not going to do it.
Okay. Which meds was it?
Like the ADD medication. Like
Ritalin?
Yeah. Something.
What did it actually do to him?
I was out of town those 2. It didn't really do too much. And then my husband said, you know what? I was cutting up this pill and it made me feel so sick and disgusting. Like I am not going to do this to my son. So, he just has focus issues, but he's great outside of the home, but at home, he's very, very abusive to me.
Physically abusive?
It has gotten to that twice, but that's when I kind of went at him. But it's, I think it's something between he and I. He'll throw things and, doesn't like to take responsibility or, like what he's wrong. If he's wrong for anything, he's like, well, then you did this. So there's not much peace in the house.
All right, David, I'll let you go here first, then I'll add something to this.
Okay.
Okay, he's reacting because there's an absence, right?
Probably.
Probably you already know this.
Yeah.
ADD and ADHD is one thing. It's an attention deficit with hyperactivity disorder.
Yeah.
Which one is he suffering from, ADD or ADHD?
ADHD.
He's suffering from ADHD. That will not make him violent. That will give him attention problems.
Yeah.
Okay. Ritalin is definitely not going to help. You do know what Ritalin is made out of, don't you?
Speed.
That's correct.
Yeah, I tried it. I was like, I want to see what this is doing, and it was just speed, and there's an epidemic of all the parents taking it, and the parents are like, oh, that's great. You're yeah, you can start taking it. I'm like, what the hell kind of world are we in? It's crazy.
Wow. Okay, so he is reacting to the father's absence.
Wow.
And you know this already. Were you hoping for a different answer by any chance? Because I don't have one for you. He's reacting because the foundation of parenting, it really is a full-time job. So you're not feeling supported.
Yeah.
Your knee is giving out as a result of it. And your son is picking up not only on his own absence and frustrations, but also yours.
Yeah.
And when you get frustrated, I'm guessing that you probably speak to him in a way, you have a lot less tolerance when you get frustrated, don't you?
Yes.
So, yeah, there won't be peace in the house. There won't be peace in the house. Because parenting is not a single affair. You can do it by yourself, sure you can,
Yeah.
but you might want to think about the stress it's placing on you and how it's being transferred. Okay? So, suggestion,
Yeah.
have that kind of discussion with the husband.
Yeah.
And I think if you go to any professional anywhere, they're going to tell you the same thing. But you already know what's happening here. So my suggestion to you is that you're going to have that kind of hard discussion. I know that he's working specifically to provide a living for his family, food for his family. A lot of people get caught up in that. Sometimes your family just needs you more.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Andrew.
So, children, violence, that almost always speaks to something going on in their dreaming world. Has he had nightmares previously?
No, not so much.
Not so much, or no?
No. Mm-mm.
Nothing he's ever told you about.
Right.
It's time to pull out mom's crowbar. Start asking about his dreams, good ones, bad ones, and different ones.
Okay.
And see if any of them have an avoidance factor to them, like in conversational terrorism. Suddenly you touch a subject matter, they don't want to hear about it, the temper tantrum goes off, something's throwing at you. That's a clear sign of avoiding a subject matter.
Yeah, he's very good at that.
Okay. Conversational terrorism is everyone's born how to do it. Okay. You've got to determine when the conversational terrorist turns on. He's 9. He knows how to talk. He's not dumb.
Right.
He does know how to manipulate too. You know how to make a fine line. What is him manipulating you and what is him manipulating the environment to avoid something that's going on in his inner realm.
Wow.
Okay. Something else, violence, majority of the time, meaning there's an influencing factor there to be violent. Has he ever seen violence before between you and your husband?
No, not at all.
Where does he get it?
My husband and I never fight. We've never had a fight. We don't raise our voice, but now he's in our world. It's like, whoa.
How did he get that stuff come to him?
Well, probably from me, like the frustration, but he plays video games.
Okay. What video games? Do you know what they are?
Yeah, he plays Fortnite, but we're like, now he's saying he doesn't like that so much, but he's there was a time when he was attracted to like all the dark things, like, he always wants to know when Halloween is and the Halloween costumes, and it's very grotesque now, all of these things, but like, not when we were a kid it was more innocent, and now all the toys are all like, these have these, the Legos have all these dark and demonic kind of vibe to them, and they're all like demonic, and he was attracted to it, but then it frightens him. So
which one of the parents, I wonder, has that trait in them?
The darkness?
No, not the darkness. The fascination with things which are dark. Come on.
Oh, well, me. I mean, I'm into like the spirituality and
that's not necessarily dark, is it?
No, but I'm really interested. Like, I'm kind of obsessed with what's going on with the whole sex trafficking of children, and all of the darkness that's going on with, like,
you are looking at the darkness and it looking back at you. Yes. Got a little fetish with the pedophilia groups. Let it go.
Yeah, it's terrifying. I was like, oh.
Yes.
So he's picking up on that energy that I'm learning about all of that stuff, and he knows it.
Let me give you a theory about parenting. Can I give you a theory about parenting?
Please.
You produce all the lessons you need to learn.
Yeah.
You produce all the lessons you need to learn. So you may have thought, oh, wow, look at this little baby. He looks just like me.
Exactly like me. Yeah.
And then you realize he is you.
Yeah.
Except an amplified version.
Yeah.
And then you got to deal with that.
Yeah.
You produce all the lessons you need to learn.
Okay. It's
So ponder that for a while. So next time Halloween comes around, I expect that you will be in your little witch's outfit with a little pointy hat, and you will be taking your kid around trick or treating. And what you can do is you guys can pretend to that the father is your victim. You can handcuff him and like wheel him around the neighborhood while it is that you're trick or treating because he needs to be there.
yeah.
David, you just been quoted as another truth bomb by the chat room.
So I'm just saying that.
So one final thing, we've got to go ahead and end the show. But what I also want to say to you is that what you look at looks back at you. And when one has family members, that what you look at, your family looks at all the time too, seen and unseen. Okay. Children are like sponges. Mm-hmm. I recently had a caller with some children, and she was beyond overboard into the 5G ruining her world. And all her kids were manifesting the sicknesses, even though there wasn't a single 5G device within 10 miles of her.
Okay.
So some of this stuff, children are psychic sponges, whether science wants to admit it or not. You just look and you know, right? You've seen kids do your mystical stuff. How often is he peeking into your world when you're looking at that stuff? All the time. He's got ADHD.
I think you just horrified her.
Right. And for all the other moms out there, turn that stuff off.
Oh, no. Because there's so many good things. Because I listen to you all the time, Andrew. But then, but then, oh, okay.
So now we've had some revelations. Your journey is unplugging from that negative stuff and observing your child having to unplug from it too.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we give that addiction to our children. And guess what? They don't want to let it go.
Oh, dear.
Many family members who have, let's say, a parent who's suicidal, and then that parent finally takes themselves, years later, all the children are showing what? Suicidal tendencies.
Yeah. Yeah, and we have addiction in our family. My brother, like that woman from Fort Lauderdale, it was like, oh, my brother was on heroin and he committed suicide. So it's like, it's all kind of floating in the back of my mind.
Okay. So just remember that what you look at all the time looks back at you. Now take that as an evaluation journey over the next couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And how much is that other material looking back at you?
Oh. All right, just change the channel, turn it off.
Detox from it too.
Yeah.
Oftentimes when people are stuck in these Facebook groups, news articles about the pedophilia ring, Epstein, waiting for the next, why aren't any of them arrested yet? Because it's tens of thousands of years old in our society, and the runners of our world aren't going to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Just because Epstein was arrested doesn't mean there's going to be mass arrests. The aliens aren't going to come down and stop of it. None of that's going to happen.
Right.
But we are obsessed with our global media machine that spews out lies and fabrications. To do what? Load you with dense energy to keep looking at that dense energy.
We don't watch
light. Look at the light.
We don't watch the news in the house, but then I'm watching this crap. Oh my gosh.
I want to say something here as well. And this is a fact of the human brain. Do you know that that the brain will, this is a fact, it will bend towards the negative more than it will bend towards the positive?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you could have been watching the Care Bears, but you didn't. You chose to watch the other. You want to know why that is for the people in the chat room who are about to disagree with me? The reason why your brain bends towards the negative more than the positive is because you are a survival machine. And Cro-Magnon man had to bend towards the negative if he was going to survive. He had to be in a state of paranoia.
Right. Those T-Rexes are mean.
Right. Right. He had to be in a state of paranoia all the time. And we have inherited that stuff. Okay? So the reason why you watch the sex trafficking and stuff like that is because, unfortunately, and I want you to think with me here. What is your name again?
Dana.
Donna. Can I ask you a question that you must answer brutally honest?
Yeah.
Some part of you is getting some sort of entertainment out of it. Say yes or no.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You know, but it's like, oh, the church, and there's this and there's that, and yeah.
Yeah, well, that part of you that's getting entertainment out of it, may be dark. I'm just going to probably
Just a wee bit.
point. Maybe dark.
Just a wee bit.
I'm just going to like just put that out there.
Okay.
Right. I'm just going to put that out there, and I'm only going to put that out there because like since we're talking and like making conversation, you might want to deal with that dark part before you deal. What I'm going to just quote the Bible here. Deal with the dark part in your own self before you deal with the dark part in your case, your son's self.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
you know the Bible quote I'm talking about?
No.
I believe it goes like I believe it's in Matthew. It goes something along the lines of not that I'm particularly Christian, but it goes along the lines of take the speck out of take the rod out of your eye before you take the speck out of your brother's eye.
Okay.
You understand that, right?
Whoa, yeah.
The other stuff that's also you're running through your own dream world, you might want to deal with it as well. Oh my God, did I just intuit that? That's not good.
Yes,
Right.
you did. David had a psychic moment. Yay!
Stop.
Mark this in history.
Okay, stop. Okay, all right. So I'm not. Anyway, moving right along. The other stuff that's going on in your dream world, the other stuff, you might want to dial it down as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What did you dream about? What do you dream about?
Well, I was I can't, like, now it's going to be recorded. It's going to be out there. So I was like, I was having like sexual dreams about someone, and then
That wasn't the husband.
yeah, but I feel like that was kind of influenced.
Which was related to the other famous person that's not around you anymore.
Yeah. But then, you know, I really was breaking all these ties and undoing all these cords. And then I dreamt that he was around and then asked to keep a dead body because I thought he was a vampire.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Dana, we have discovered the dark part of Dana. Dana.
Yeah.
Dum, dum.
Dana.
Yes.
There's no judgment here, right? There is no judgment here. The
Yeah.
dark part of you exists for a reason, like everyone else, right? You cannot be completely light, Dana, so stop judging yourself.
Yeah.
But I'm just simply pointing out to you that the stuff that's happening in your environment that may be affecting your kid may be flowing out because you are not managing your internal thought processes very well.
Mm.
And this doesn't mean to just jump and go into a fetish ball and take care of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to understand the long-term observance of this sex trafficking stuff through Facebook, YouTube, email lists has created a distortion in your entertainment, which has created programs of distorted entertainment, which is a part of your emanation field that everyone picks up on.
Wow.
No, that's a bad thing. I mean, you seem pretty well adjusted. You're aware that there's a problem. Just deal with the problem and manage your broadcasting, your internal broadcasting better. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all you need to do.
Change the channel.
Okay. Remember, your kid came from inside you, so he's on the inner messages and the inner broadcasts.
Yeah.
You might gotta take him off, put him on the adult list. The adults get this stuff, and the kids don't get this information.
Right. Right. Well, I mean, the behavior was always there before I started watching all these things and getting into these videos, and that's just been kind of like the recent. But okay.
Before it was that, it was something else.
Exactly.
Before it was something else, it was something else.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Darling, we have to let you go and end the show, but thank you so much for sharing with us. You've been an incredible teacher to all the other listeners here.
Thank you very much. Okay.
You're welcome. You have a great
You're
day.
welcome, Donna.
David, thank you so much for being on the show, and we will be back next week with another incredible conversation.
Thank you so much, and thank you, the audience, for sharing.
All right, Robert, take us away.
Goodbye.
Each different bubble of reality is true. A galactic historian is a person that looks at all the lines of dramatic karma. Nudge, nudge. It's the Holy Grail. Improvise. Mysterious. It's counter psychic intelligence. Why is DNA farming of this star cluster so important? Because we do manifest our reality. We do create our reality.